What does it mean to be an American? An essential aspect of American culture is the protection of our civil rights. The fact that the Constitution was not ratified until the inclusion of a Bill of Rights is a prime example of just how important civil rights are to American citizens. But why is it that knowing and exercising our rights is so important to us, and what has caused this frame of mind?
Well, you know what protects them? The Constitution. We talk about the Constitution being a bulwark, as being natural law, as something that will always be there, whether it's 200 years ago or 200 years from now. And that's exactly right. When we look at the Constitution, we see something that says people will be safe from unreasonable searches and seizures. People will have a right to a jury trial. People will have a right to counsel in a criminal case. What they are doing there is they are saying that, look, government can overreach. And when government overreaches, we turn then to our Constitution. And we use our Constitution to say, government, you've gone too far. You've gone too far to get in the way of individual liberties. And now the Constitution must be upheld to protect individual rights.
Despite the Bill of Rights, we are still striving to ensure equality among all people. A problem that we are constantly trying to rectify is the unfair treatment of those who are seen as being of lesser importance in the early years of the Constitution.
We simplify these narratives and we simplify the movements and we simplify blackness for the comfort and sake, I think, of people when they sit at the dinner table, instead of understanding that we actually have to do the opposite. Like, we have to have complicated conversations. We have to talk about economic justice and identity politics and race. You know, it's when I go into a room, I'm never just one thing. I would love to just walk in a room and just be like, I'm just going to be Jessica today. I'm not going to be black. I'm not going to be young. I'm not going to be queer. I'm not going to be any of these things. But you know what? Every single time I walk into the room, I have to carry all of those identities with me. So for you to ask me to sit at a table and not address every single aspect of those issues and talk about how it impacts me every single day is negligent of who I am as a person.
So what happens is they've decided to, with affirmative action, take action to protect some of those minority groups. And in doing so, they are trying to right an old wrong. And some people agree with it, some people disagree with it. The people who disagree with it say, fight your way up, just like every other ethnic group did. And the people who agree with it say, no, this was a wrong that happened, and we need to step in as a society and fix it. But this is a hot button issue. This is an issue that people are still arguing about today. The Supreme Court said at one point, we will reach a point where there can now no longer be any racial preferences because everybody has had an equal shot here in the United States. And I just hope to live long enough to reach that point where everybody can play on an even playing field.
This graph shows the diversity of the 116th Congress. It shows how congressmen have been chosen by an ever-growing population of voters that support minorities in the legislative branch.
Diversity, by definition, means a range of different things. America's diversity has been the center of many social problems because the Constitution does not explicitly tell us what to do when it comes to equal rights.
Well, if you think about the Constitution, you're thinking about a base level document, what we think of as natural law. In other words, these are the things that we all agree upon should be law. Think about the Ten Commandments. They have survived forever, right? And they were written well before the Constitution. The Code of Hammurabi, also written well before the Constitution, but has survived forever. Natural law are things that we all agree should or should not be. For instance, I think we can all agree you shouldn't murder, right? Part of the Ten Commandments. And the right to life is part of what is in the Constitution. We all agree the right to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, those are all things that are included. The right to free speech. We think that that's very important. The right to be free of unreasonable searches and seizures. The right to a jury trial. These are things that we think, no matter what the time, no matter what the place, whether it's 200 years ago or 200 years from now, should still apply. Now, once you get beyond what we think of as natural law, things that everyone should agree upon, then you get into what's called positive law. And positive laws are things that people may disagree about. Should the speed limit be 65 or 75? Reasonable people can disagree. So what we do is we create documents like the Constitution, and we say, here are things that everyone should agree upon. But everything that is not covered in the Constitution, we are leaving to positive law. We are leaving to the legislature to come up with this. We are leaving to the state or federal legislature to come up with laws that deal with these issues. And it will eventually come down to, all right, how do we deal with new technology that comes up? And how do we create positive law to deal with that?
This is another very important issue that I'm going to continue to work on as chairwoman, and that is diversity and inclusion. As a nation, we're becoming increasingly diverse racially and ethnically. The U.S. Census Bureau estimates that more than half of all Americans will belong to a minority group by the year 2044.
This graph shows the impact of the Voting Rights Act and how registration for black voters skyrocketed in most states. The passing of this law created a new opportunity for African Americans to be represented by congressmen who would support their ethnic group's ideas.
Compared to the original America, civil liberties have come a long way. Now, more than ever, the laws include more groups of people and cover more liberties so that everyone can have equal representation and protection. This is what it means to be an American.